to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to Big Blend Radio. You know, we love to chat with Debbie Stone, the travel writer. We call her Fire Monkey because she is a little fire monkey. She travels all over the globe, and we talk with her every fourth Tuesday on BigBlendRadio.com. However, she does so much travel that we like to get some extra little segments in with her while we can, and that's what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about McMinnville, Oregon. Nancy and I got to visit there. It was about a year, maybe 2 years ago, and it was a last minute thing. And we went and stayed at a Tuscan inn, bed and breakfast. It was beautiful. Right, we could walk to the downtown of McMinnville, and then later we went wine tasting and went to the coast. But this was one of our favorite downtowns in the country so far for us, and I'm very excited because she went there. She did it a lot more, and she did some of the things that we did not have a chance to do. But we're still glad we had that overnight experience because we would never have, known. So welcome back, Fire Monkey. How are you?
I'm doing well, and happy to and excited to talk to you about McMinnville, especially because you can relate.
I know we were there. It was just like one of those things. We had one night. And, I talked to the innkeeper at the Tuscan Estate, and Tuscan Estate is the name. Let me get that correct. And she's like, no, come. And we're like, okay. And the next morning we walked the downtown, did a park out there actually, and from the downtown, and loved all their public art. And that they have that old historic theater, and they have a old quilt shop, which you rarely see anymore. And it was so beautiful and charming. The B&B was charming, but the night before we went the wrong way. Can you believe Nancy and I got lost and we ended up at a tap room and drinking beer from Oregon all night? And everybody was in there like, here, try this, try that. And I don't know how we got home to the B&B, but we did. But somehow we got lost and ended up drinking beer. And everybody in there, in fact, the lady who owns the beer place that we were in, her husband works at the museum that you went to that we didn't get to go to. And yeah. So tell everybody where you went, because this is some cool history of innovation, aviation. Tell everybody where you went. The Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum.
Yeah, this is a museum. I think it's really very notable, very world class. If you're an aviation fanatic, you are an aspiring astronaut, or just a history buff, I mean, it is amazing because they have two separate buildings, one that's devoted to the aviation, one to the space. And there's all sorts of aircraft, civilian, military, unmanned aerial vehicles, a lot of spacecraft. But in the Aviation Museum, that's the star, what takes center stage is the Spruce Goose. And for those who aren't either have maybe they're not sure they know what the Spruce Goose is, it was basically the baby of Howard Hughes. He designed and built it because there was a need at the time in World War II to move troops and equipment across the Atlantic. And this is when German subs were sinking Allied ships. And so they came up with this idea to build this particular aircraft, and it was 6 times larger than any other aircraft at the time, and also was made entirely of wood because wartime rationing of materials like steel and aluminum was going on. So they made it out of wood. They called it Hughes's Flying Boat. And it flew only just once in 1947 in Long Beach, California, because by the time it was actually completed at the price tag of $23 million at the time, this one flight wonder wasn't needed anymore because for the war effort, it just wasn't needed. So it was in Long Beach, California for a while. And I believe Disney had it for a while there. And then it went up for, so to speak, sale or to be, a museum or somebody to purchase it. And the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum got it. They put an offer in and they got it and had it transferred and sent to the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum. And it is magnificent. I mean, it's just so cool to see it and to realize that this thing that they created only flew just once, for about, it said it went up 70 feet and flew about just 1 mile in 26 seconds. That was it, after all of this work and design and money and everything. And so it's very cool that it's in the museum, in this museum. So you can, there's these docents there and you can ask them all these questions about it. But there's also, planes from all the beginning days of aviation, the Wrights and, to the Golden Age and the Korean War and World War II. And so, it talks about how planes were first, farmers used them, and then they were made for business and then for the military, So that's one building. The second building is the Space Museum, which is fascinating. So, you're going to go from, the start of the space age, or the space race to the moon, and Sputnik and Explorer 1 and Gemini and Apollo lunar lander, etc. And, it to me was phenomenal. It's just got so much history, and it's such a spacious, these places are so big and voluminous. It's wonderful because you walk around and you're just like in awe because they're hanging from the rafters and they're on the floor and everywhere. It's just very, very cool.
I love it. And, this is the thing. It's this history in Oregon. It is different history, even though it's in the West. It's different than what we have in the Southwest, but there's these ties like you're talking about. And so, you stayed in a hotel that was historic too. So you not only go to this museum, and apparently you not only in aviation history did you get connected with, but somehow you tapped into UFO history. Am I right here?
Yeah, it's first of all, it's
called Did you beam up?
Hotel Oregon. And it's McMinnville who owns a number of hotels in the Pacific Northwest. This one is McMinnville's Hotel Oregon, right on the downtown Main Street, a historic building that used to be called the Hotel Elberton. It dates back to early 1900s. Lots of history about the building, and then inside, it's fabulous. There is just photos, and there is paintings and murals and all sorts of artwork, and it's Art Deco and just wood and a wonderful, fascinating place. Very quirky, very eccentric, but fascinating. And staying there to me is just, I walked around every floor and looked at like every picture and painting, and then also that each room is designated for somebody, who in history was associated with the hotel or the community. And so, we were in a room that was designated for a woman named Ollie Ruffner White, who they describe and give a little information in your room, but she was this tiny little woman who was responsible for all the canning operations at her farm. And so, all the jars of fruit and jam that were made were stored in the hotel's basement for later use.
Wow.
So it's fascinating. And then, you get, people, community, people who were hairstylists at the hotel, had a business on the first floor, somebody who was a hotel clerk that was there, a hotel chambermaid, a reporter and a journalist. And that's where you get into the whole UFO thing, because there is a famous UFO story out, and there is a famous UFO fest that is done in McMinnville every year. And Hotel Oregon, McMinnville's, is the one that really got it going. But the story happened back in 1950, and this woman, a local resident, was feeding the animals on her farm, and she saw this like bizarre disc type of object in the sky, and she went to run into her husband and told him, get your camera, and so Paul snapped a pair of pictures before it disappeared. So the photos kind of went crazy, and there's a media frenzy about it. And so the McMinnville UFO gave the town this special notoriety, which they've celebrated with this UFO fest. And every year, this year, it's May 19th to 20th.
Wow. So it connects to, like, if you're into Roswell and all of that, which I love. Yes. Roswell. And there's just
definitely.
Listen, we are all connected to the aliens. I don't care what anybody says. William Shatner says, when you look at a newborn baby, don't tell me it doesn't look like an alien. And so I look at that and I'm like, he's right. I can't I can't argue that. We're all
Yeah.
aliens. Get over it. No, just kidding. We are. David Bowie's an alien. You know he is. He just beamed back up, you know. Elon Musk,
But
well, he could be too. I'm just saying, but it seems like, this is what's so cool. Would you say that if for history lovers, McMinnville, obviously the wine, the food, the lodgings, I mean, the downtown, like you got to meet Ben Franklin like we did, sitting on the bench there, the sculpture of him. But to me, I think it is something for history lovers to go to that area.
I think it is a wonderful place there's something for everybody, whether it's the history, whether it's the wine, which is, incredible when you think about that. There's 250 wineries and vineyards just in the span of like 20 miles of McMinnville. But right there's like so many tasting rooms right in the middle of downtown McMinnville. You can go from one to the other. So it's not only the wine, and then of course there's great food, but it is this historical component. And then there's also, there's art there. There's a thriving art community with galleries and studios, and there's even a theater that performs live shows. And you've got there's so much in this little tiny town of 30,000 people, and to me, that's always a wonder for people. Plus, it's just like 40 miles from Portland, Oregon. So if you're in the Portland, Oregon area, it's nothing to go there.
Yeah, we drove there from Albany.
Oh, okay.
It was an easy, short drive.
Yeah.
And we were just and when we got there, I was like, this is like this idyllic little place.
Yes.
I mean, idyllic is the word, really, when you think about it. And just how like the bed and breakfast was and the downtown, and everybody was relaxed. People are relaxed.
Friendly, very, very friendly community. And if you like to go outside, I mentioned that, there's a bunch of trails. There's some waterfalls. There's woods. There's the Erratic Rock State National Site, which is this bizarre 90-ton rock that somehow got deposited there during an Ice Age flood. And so there.
No, that was aliens. Sorry.
But there's a lot there. So, it is a charming place. And, it's a great, I think for people who are in the area, it's a great getaway destination, a wonderful weekend getaway or midweek getaway. To me, it's just has a lot of different charms to it.
I want to go back for sure. And now, you've kind of tugged at me to do that now. Everyone, visit McMinnville.com is the website if you're planning to go. And also McMinnville.com/hotel-Oregon is the website there too. But really, the article is up on blendradioandtv.com. Just type in McMinnville or Debbie Stone and you'll find the article there. Thanks so much, Fire Monkey. It's always good to hear from you and your adventures.
Thanks so much. Take care.